Thank you so much for that kind introduction. We are talking about wool in the circular economy. Of course, we are from the wool industry, so we believe it's a perfect fit. And it was created by sheep, right?
That's it.
Exactly for this application. But I'm here to give you a short introduction. I'm Delena White, Secretary General of the International Wool Textile Organization. You can find me on the corner of the Wool Forum there if you still need some questions answered after the show. And I would like to say that wool offers one of the best examples of the circular economy in action. Due to its intrinsic value, wool materials are mostly paired with quality manufacturing techniques, resulting in superior quality products. These are often made into classic styles, withstanding the test of time. Wool textiles are appreciated for their ability to endure. Wool apparel is often found in vintage stores, and wool items are frequently handed down through generations. Established recycling pathways, refined for the past 200 years, prove that recycling wool can succeed commercially. There are no question about that. As a result, wool is the world's most recycled apparel fiber, with at least 60% of used wool textiles being recycled commercially. So that sets the scene for our conversation, but let's dig into some details. I'm going to ask our panel to introduce themselves. The thinking was that we start from the front side, our brands, work through to the brand supporters, the spinners, and then back to farm, so that you can get a global view of what we're talking about. So I'm going to ask our panel to introduce themselves, starting with our brand representative, Jorion. Tell us who you are.
Hello, my name is Jøril Bjerkesæter. I'm a senior designer and product developer at Aclima, which is a Norwegian wool brand specializing in functional marine clothing. We work a lot with the outer market as well as the professional contract market. And very relevant to this, it was actually founded in 1939 when the founder was recycling used conveyor belts from the cellulose industry into wool insoles. So we actually started with recycling wool already a long time ago. And then after some different history in the apparel industry, they ended up being Aclima in the beginning of 2000. And after that, we've been specializing in merino clothing.
Thank you very much. And moving one step down, we move to my right, Francisco. Woolmark, tell us who you are, what do you do?
Thanks, Delena. Good afternoon, everyone. I am representing an Australian company, but actually I'm Italian. So I'm based in Milan and managing director of the from Milan office and managing regional activities across Europe. So we are here in the wool area, and so I mean we work with wool, of course.
Fabulous. And we move down the pipeline, so we move to Südwolle. Roberto, tell us who you are.
Hello, everyone. My name is Roberto Circelli. Like Francesco, I'm located in Italy, but I work for an international company, Südwolle Group. We are a worsted wool spinner. So we work really to find innovation in all the fields where it's possible to apply wool. So I'm happy to be here because for wool, the topic of recycling is important. Wool is recycled more than now 200, 3,000 a year. But what in Südwolle Group we want to do is really be game changer and find solution for worsted spinning. So thank you.
Interesting. There's a little hook for you. That will be interesting to hear more about. And it was New Zealand Merino. Now tell us who you are, Angus.
Thanks, Delena. Yes, I'm Angus Street. I'm the CEO of Zenterra Wool Company. We only launched that name, that rebrand, on Tuesday. So if you're looking for New Zealand Merino Company, that's who we have been for the last 27 years. It's in the brochure as New Zealand Merino. It's on the screen as New Zealand Merino. But we are, as of Tuesday, the Zenterra Wool Company. Zenterra talks to exactly what we do, and that is that we work with growers all around the world, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa and South America, and those growers work in harmony with the land. Zenterra stands for In Harmony with the Land, and they work in harmony with the land through two of our certification programs, one being ZQ, which is an animal welfare certification, the other being ZQ Plus, which is a regenerative certification. And we are fortunate and so lucky to work with supply chain partners. Südwolle is one of those long-standing partners of ours, and brands, Aclima, and supplying them ZQ and ZQ Plus wool from our ZQ farm. So great to be here. Thank you so much, Delena, for including us, and I hope it's a great panel.
Thank you, Angus, and congratulations on that launch. That's very timely for this fair, for sure. Nicely done. So we'll start at the front side again with Aclima. In your retail world, is it important to include recycled fibers and specifically wool in your range? And as a second part to that question, how do you plan for these recycled fiber items in your range every year?
For Aclima, it's very important to include the recycled materials. We have a part or a special collection in a brand that's called the Reborn Collection, which is made of only cuts from our own factory. So it's the waste we use from cutting out a regular collection, and then we recycle this into new garments. And for Aclima, it's an essential. I mentioned it's part of the heritage of Aclima to recycle wool, but I would say it's also a really important part of the brand identity, and something that everyone that works in the company is really proud of and thinks it's important to continue and to do over time. We are using wool, which is a really, really amazing material, as you mentioned, and to be able to take responsibility and to actually use as much of this material that we produce as possible, it's really key for us. And then, of course, it's you have to think a bit differently than in a regular collection. I think that's why Aclima has been able to do this over time as well. I think a lot of brands are trying to do it, but trying to plan it in the regular collection rhythm. But by doing this collection of cuttings from the factory, we have to do it a bit differently. We have to plan in a longer term. So from all the way to the production, and then the cuttings, the sorting, and then making the yarn, shredding the cuttings, making the yarn. It's kind of, you need to plan everything from before the material is there to the final garment at once. So taking it out of the regular collection planning rhythm and just keeping this as value in its own, it's been really key to be able to do this over time as well.
That's very interesting. It certainly takes commitment from the brand to do it successfully.
And I think the discussions from Aclima to start recycling the wool cuttings started 10 years ago, and there are some challenges to find out how to do it and how to make it work. And then 7 years ago, they launched their first product. Right. And now it keeps going strong and will definitely just keep growing in the future.
It's a long-term commitment.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you very much. So, Roberto, moving down the pipeline, as the Südwolle Group, is there a demand from your customers for recycled wool, and how do you satisfy their requests?
Yes, there is demand, a lot of demand. As said before, we are worsted wool spinner. I don't know if you are familiar with the technology, but there are two main systems to spin yarn, wool yarn. So woolen spun and worsted yarn. So we need long fiber to spin our yarn, to have the right quality, to be able to spin fine count, and then can be used for the brand for different application. Recycling the wool means to have a mechanical action on the fiber, and this means reduce the length and reduce the possibility to spin a qualitative yarn or a worsted yarn. So what we are doing now to really satisfy the needs of the market is find solution. There is also here one partner of us in Biella, and find technology to mechanically reopen fiber and having a length that allow us to spin again worsted wool yarn. So actually, I'm proud of this because I think that we are the first company in the world that has in their collection a stock service of a worsted wool recycled yarn. Yesterday we discussed, we have a nice meeting and they were really surprised because we have now the possibility to offer something different. We are just the beginning. We are able to just use our pre-consumer waste from threads. The next step will be post-consumer. This is the big challenge. And we are also working in exploring new spinning technology. So in China, we modify an existing technology for short staple that allow us to spin, in any case, very fine count. And we were able to spin an M60 single with 30% of recycled material. So it's something where we are putting our efforts, our energy, also because we understand that the brand and our customer needs our brain and our efforts in the research, because only collaborating each other we can find solution. Otherwise, they cannot afford. Also because it's something that require a lot of, I don't want to be unpolite, but we need to put money on this. A lot.
It needs investment, right?
It's an investment. Most of the case, brand want something, but they don't want to pay for that.
Okay.
So it's important also that we share not only the efforts in brain, but also in all the aspects of the research. So.
The financial burden of innovation as well. So, Francisco, we heard from those two that the brands are definitely asking for recycled wool. Can you tell us how Woolmark supports them in finding the correct yarns and fabrics on this journey?
Yes. Well, first of all, sounds strange, because Woolmark is representing the wool grower. Wool grower are producing virgin wool, so it could be strange, someone representing virgin wool talking about recycling wool that is not the proper product. But actually, we want to promote and support recycling wool because it's the close of the circle. Wool is the most recyclable fiber in the world. But if you have something that is recyclable, but then you don't have what is recycled, there's no reason to talk about recyclable fiber. So that's why we are here in supporting the recycled garments, and how we do that. Actually, Woolmark is a no-profit company, so we are not. Our services are free of charge for everyone because we are funded by the growers. So actually, we don't have to sell services, but we are happy, to provide services. And one of the biggest services that we have is helping brands in finding commercial solutions in terms of fabrics, in terms of yarns. And we have created tools, because there are trade shows, there are, of course, processors. But we created a kind of a mini trade show that is also here at our stand that is called Wool Lab. Wool Lab is a sourcing guide where we collect the best fabrics and yarns from all the processors and spinners worldwide, and we dedicated a section to the recycled or blended, because you need, of course, virgin wool, if you want to do some recycled garments made of wool. And so this is how we want to help the industry and the brands in finding the right solution, commercial solution, and it's available for everyone. So also here at our stand, but also on our website of Woolmark. And so we want to help brands in, giving real solutions from what is present in the market, also from Südwolle, so there's a lot of Südwolle in our books. So this is one of the tools that we do for supporting the brands in finding also recycled. Oh my God, recycled. Yes, recycled yarns and fabrics made with recycled wool. At the same time, we did some researches between the consumer, and we noted that most of the consumer they buy recycling. Recycle garments, especially because of sustainability, But at the same time, they pay a premium price. They focus on sustainability, but the value in terms of quality is not actually, the perception of consumer of recycled products is not at that level, but not because they are not quality, but because the communication given to the consumer in terms of quality of these garments sometimes is not clear,
So it's a consumer perception, really.
It's the consumer perception because, of course, the processor, they are producing quality fibers, quality yarns, and also so the products are quality products. But the problem is that the consumer, the perception of recycled garments is still recycled, something that is not pure, or something that is second-hand, something like that. And so we wanted to find a solution, for helping brands in communicating the quality of this garment. And Woolmark is a certification company. Is free of charge. Is a no-profit certification company. So when you see, no, there's no our logo, but when you see our logo, it means that when you see our logo on the garments, it means that it's certified in terms not only in fiber, but it's certified also in 5 main specifics quality specifications. So we test the color fading, we test the shrinking, we test the peeling, So we test the quality of the garments, not just the quality of the fiber. And so we created a specific certification program that is called Woolmark Recycled, where we test the garment made with recycled wool. And that's for helping brands in communicating to the consumer that garment is tested by independent laboratories, the laboratories we are working with, and they understand that is recycled. It's good for sustainability, but it's also good for quality, and is an additional value proposition that the brands can give to the consumer. How does it work? It works that the final garments are tested. You need to have, for having this certification, not less than 20% of wool, recycled wool. And as we are not a sustainability certification, these garments must have GRS or RCS certification, because we don't certify the recycled wool, we certify the quality of the garment. So that's how we help brands in communicating to the consumer that it's not just sustainability, but it's also quality. So that's what we do.
That's very clever, because that really communicates the value of the product they buy. Thank you. So we know the brands want it. We know the yarn suppliers are doing it. How does Zentera fit into this? We know you are known for your high standards on farm. Do you also support this recycle trend we're looking at?
Great question, Delena. For Zentera Group, we're a purpose-led organisation. We've been working in the wool sector for 27 years, nearly 3 decades, working with the world's best supply chain partners, brand partners and growers, and connecting them to celebrate the value of wool. So our purpose as Zentera is to create a healthier world for people and planet by celebrating nature's brilliance. And nature's brilliance, obviously, is wool, right? We're a wool company. And so regardless of whether it's a virgin fibre or whether it's recycled, our goal is to have more wool being used in textiles and apparel wear. Absolutely. So no, let me firstly start by saying, we absolutely don't see recycled wool as a threat or a competitor. If we can have more companies using wool, we all win. And the reason that we all win is because when you start using wool, it kind of goes beyond just the benefits of, the performance attributes of it. And that's what we find when we work with brand partners, is that we're able to tell the sourcing story of wool. And that sourcing story with really good systems and processes like Aclima, they're able to control that same sourcing story in their recycled story. So our certifications EQ is 100% digitally traceable, and so we're able to track the wool from farm through to garment, and then from garment if it needs to go back and around from a recycle perspective. So we absolutely, as a company, support circularity, support recycled wool. But I guess the question, there is a bit of a difference from our standpoint, is that whilst we support circularity, we really believe that circularity must start with at source. So brands, from our perspective, need to consider the fibres that they're sourcing, not just thinking around circularity, like recycled synthetics, for example. I think the last data that I saw from Textile Exchange, and forgive me if I'm wrong, I think 98% of recycled synthetics came from plastic bottles.
Yeah.
And whether it's whatever the number is, that's a lot. Yeah. And so I guess the question is recycled synthetic actually true circularity? But wool can be true circularity. And for us, we define circularity in terms of it's a really durable fibre, it's recyclable, it's biodegradable, and for the farms that we work with exclusively and the brands source from exclusively, we are also regenerating the soil. So there's actually circularity loops, mini loops within the entire wool circularity system. And I think that's the beautiful thing that is quite often overlooked when we talk about wool circularity. So bring it right back to your first question. Our purpose is to celebrate, to advance nature's brilliance, and that is wool. And we can do that both recycled and virgin wool.
That's great to hear. I can't tell you how many times I've been asked, but what do the farmers think? Okay, that's what the farmers think, right? We've got that covered. So, Aclima, coming back to the front side of the chain, how important is innovation in your recycled wool ranges, and specifically in the Reborn collection that you mentioned?
I think to have the want and the urge for innovation is really important to be able to make this collection. It's part of exploring even further, how can it go, how can we do everything better. When we're starting, I have some garments I could show as well to how we think when we make this collection. We are sorting, this is one of the first products that was made in Aclima.
Very nice. Show and tell.
Show and tell. It's a shirt made from the scraps, and to be able to do everything in the most sustainable way as possible. We sort the scraps by color, so there's no extra dye stuff, no dyeing made in this. And then we spin the yarns from the colors made in production. And then, of course, you have to think through all the details as well, like the thread is recycled, the buttons are coconut, but also, as you said, to have the value of the product as high as a regular product is really, really key. So it's not some kind of downcycling, it's like an upcycling or something that lasts even longer. And I think the products we made in the Reborn collection has really proved to be long-lasting. Both of these have been in the collection for a long time. It's a slower rhythm, as we talked about before, but then you also need to keep pushing it further to be able to scale it even more in the future, because at the moment we are not using all of our scraps. We still have potential to recycle a lot more of it. I think then it's really key to keep developing the collection from design to the styles to what products do we make from the collection to make them meet the consumer's need. We see there is a big demand for it, and to make something that people want to buy that is as good as or even better than the regular part of the collection. We also had some very interesting meetings these days here at Performance Days, so some projects to keep developing the fabrics, to keep pushing the limits of what we can do in the future to kind of do even better with the resources that we have. So I think both on the fabric level, the sorting level, how can we sort and keep track of everything we have even more? It's really needed for innovation. So just to keep everything pushing further to be able to scale it, to use as much of this material, of this kind of the wool that is taking so many resources to grow in the first place, and then to be able to use all of it. I think that's super important.
It's great to hear your commitment to that. Thank you for sharing that. And Francesco, then, how does Woolmark support brands like Aclima in finding innovation in wool recycling?
Has the Wool Lab, so the sourcing guides. I think that the biggest innovation that the brands are asking now is moving from synthetics to wool. Because they actually understood that recycling synthetic is just re-putting microplastic in the ocean. And so this is the biggest request actually, and so they come to us asking, how can we substitute the synthetics with wool? And what we do in Woolmark is investing into the supply chain. So actually we work with the supply chain like Südwolle. We work very closely in investing in an innovative project for recycling wool and wool. We are working with brands in promoting in the market, and actually what we really do is helping brands in finding commercial solution. So what we do actually, we work with, for example, with sport athletes. We create prototypes of fabrics and yarns, and we test on sport athletes. For example, the last that we did is into the America's Cup, where we work with all the product team, and we created, for example, prototypes for them, and they tested in action. And after they tested in action, they put the fabrics and the garments into the main collection. So the way we work, first of all, is supporting brands into this switch, from the synthetics to the natural fibers, because there is a big request in the market actually. And then secondly, what we do is, we test the fabrics, we test the yarns that we are working together with the supplier on real athletes. And then we come back to the brands and telling them with data, scientific data, this is the performance of these garments, of these textiles and yarns. And so we help brand also in communicating to the consumer the performance, in terms of something that is, we say, tested by the best. That was our claim. But and everything is free of charge, so that's why we are working actually with sports, fashion, automotive as well.
Yep.
And so if you ask, we are here.
Thank you. Fabulous. So, Roberto, could you highlight some challenges in recycling wool innovation, and how do you solve that at Südwolle?
Yes, we have different challenges. First, starting from the sorting of the material. So, because it's a manual job, the most of the case, a person has to divide by color, divide by composition, cut the zip. So, means a lot of work. Then, particularly in the post-consumer, there is chemical risk. So, because there are garments that arrive from the 70s, from the 60s, where you don't know the chemicals inside. Till now, there are not possibility to neutralize the things. So, and make this accepted by the brand is difficult because they want everything like the virgin, and you have really a lot of time work in the change the mind setting and understand, make them understand all the process and all the possibilities. So then spinning limitation, because it's a mechanical process. I said before, there are limits in the count you can spin. So everyone's want recycled material as much possible and have the finest count in the world with the right quality. Thanks also to Woolmark, we certified our yarn, we test the quality. Then availability of the material, because wool is a precious material. In our production, we try to don't waste. So, and also the availability is limited, and also our goal is not to waste. So this primary goal is not to waste, instead to recycle. And also I say, by Zentara and Angus, that wool is already a circular fiber. It's part of a circular, natural waste, bio-based, biodegradable. Wool grow in the ship. The ship has to be shredded. So, and when you have garments in wool, the most of case became your favorite garments, and you keep for the life. You don't want to trash and waste. Also, if it's full of holes, you try to repair. So, and if you have suits, you keep for the life, for sure. So also this is part of circularity. So what we try to do to solve the issue is really to speak with our customer and make them to understand that we are not in the synthetic and made world, where they need is a must be recycled. So for us, it's not a must. It's just a complementary things to don't waste this precious, beautiful material. So, and we invest also of course, in the technology to offer the best quality and give the possibility to offer the yarn for the different application, not remain stuck in the past, just carded like in Prato, that they are master, don't get me wrong, they are the master of recycled wool, but at the end you can produce beanie, felted wool fabrics. Here we are in performance day, sportswear performance, so we need also to give you possibility in other applications. So we really try always to be in the customer perspective. So we are there, like Woolmark, like Aclima, also for the final consumer, and Zentera, to support you to find solution. But to remember you that we are already a sustainable fiber, and so it's completely different process than the man-made. So.
I get you. You're saying you're not creating textile waste, you are optimizing the leftovers.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a nice way to think about it. Thank you. So Angus, you have mentioned wool as the ultimate circular fiber. How does that relate to what happens on farm? And are there solutions for brands looking to highlight the circularity that you could point to?
Definitely, Delena, and there's probably 2 points I'd like to address here. I talked about earlier that wool is a truly circular fibre already, but within each of the stages of the supply chain, there is already a circular kind of loop, mini loop within the large one. And specifically on farm, we work with growers firstly to adopt regenerative farming practices. We have, I think, there are lots of regenerative frameworks that are in the market currently. We will have I think the world's first regenerative certified program, which is great. And we launched ZQ RX 3 years ago as a framework, and have been working with farmers for the last 3 to 4 years to adopt regenerative farming practices that have a positive impact on the planet, on the environment. And we've baselined those farms. And now that we've got the data and the evidence, we're able to actually shift it just from a framework into a certification. And that certification allows brands to be able to confidently communicate to their consumers with the ZQ Plus mark and that ZQ Plus mark has data and evidence, is a certification, is digitally traceable, and they can communicate it with confidence that they're not going to be, I guess, that they are going to meet any of the EU regulations coming up them. So regenerative farming in the first stage of the value chain is very much something that we focus on, and we invest alongside our farmers to improve those regenerative farming practices across the 4 continents that we source from. The second piece of investment and is really around understanding the carbon impact on farm. And hopefully, but at least the people on the stage here would understand that, the frustrations that perhaps we have in the wool sector with the current methodologies that are in place. For those that are in the crowd that might not be aware, you look at, all of the data platforms that are using the traditional LCA framework, and they're comparing woolen fibre versus a synthetic fibre, and yet the carbon emissions or the carbon impact is saying that wool, this beautiful natural fibre, is actually worse for the environment based on this data point. To me, that's just crazy. And I think I can understand why we've got there, because the LCA methodology was built for factories, not for farms. And I think that's a really important distinction. Yet we have taken those LCA methodologies to calculate carbon and applied them to farms, to agriculture. And so what's really exciting is the work that we're doing with IWTO and a number of other partners, where we are looking to include biogenic component into the LCA work. And in really simple terms, I'm not an environmentalist, but think of it that not all carbon is created equal. There is biogenic carbon, which is circular, that stays on farm, and then there is fossil carbon, essentially, and that is carbon that the synthetics, when they're digging up for the oil, they're actually releasing carbon and adding to the negative carbon impact, into the carbon impact into the environment, whereas the carbon from an agriculture perspective has always been there. It's been there in its own circular kind of world. And so for us, we're really excited to be able to include biogenic carbon as a calculation into the LCA methodology, because the first cut of the data is that it's really positive for wool. And in some instances, I think the data's pointing to that wool is actually carbon negative. And so I think that work is going to, alongside durability and the other circularity benefits of biodegradable and recyclable and regenerative farming, but actually the carbon measure that so many companies are looking at to measure their environmental impact, there could be a significant change, and that's really exciting for wool. So they're 2 areas that we're working with brand partners, the industry, to be able to drive really positive change when it comes to circularity.
Fabulous. I think that's a great development. Before we wrap up, are there any questions from the floor? You have the wool experts on the stage. Anything you want to ask them? If you are shy, we can arrange for a private consultation later. Yes? Okay, so then if there are no questions, we will wrap up. We have heard that our brands are embracing recycling, that Woolmark Company is supporting them in highlighting the quality of recycled product and showing the value of the product coming to market. We've heard from Südwolle that they are constantly investing in innovation, and brands and retailers, please don't come to Roberto and tell him that it must be cheaper than the virgin stuff, because that doesn't make sense. He's told you that clearly.
Thank you.
Thank you. And from Angus, we've heard that recycled wool starts on farm, and if it's done properly from the very first day, then we have an excellent product that we can keep for a long time and at the end of life recycle. Does that wrap it up for you? Any final words? Roberto, all said and done? Thank you so much to our experts. Thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you, Dalena, for this.
It's always a pleasure to be on
Thank you,
stage with
Dalena.
you. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.